Imagine waking up in the middle of a frozen prehistoric wilderness. Snow covers the ground. A freezing wind cuts through the trees. The temperature continues to fall. And then you discover the worst possible news. You have no fire. No matches. No lighter. Not even a single glowing ember. For most modern people, this would quickly become a life-threatening situation. Without fire, there is no warmth. No hot food. No protection from the freezing night. But thousands of years ago, our ancestors faced this terrifying reality far more often than you might imagine. Sometimes heavy rain soaked every piece of firewood. Sometimes powerful storms extinguished their campfires. Sometimes they became lost, separated from their tribe, with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Yet somehow, they survived. How? The answer wasn't luck. It wasn't extraordinary strength. It was knowledge. Ancient humans understood something that many of us have forgotten. Fire was only one way to stay alive. Nature offered countless other ways to survive the cold, if you knew where to look. They learned how to trap body heat without blankets. How to build shelters that stayed surprisingly warm. How to use leaves, moss, grass, and animal hides as natural insulation. How to choose the safest place to sleep before the freezing night arrived. Every decision mattered. One wrong choice could steal precious body heat. One smart choice could keep an entire family alive until sunrise. The greatest mistake modern people make when facing extreme cold is believing that fire is the only thing keeping them alive. Our ancestors knew better. Long before they searched for firewood, they searched for shelter. A good shelter could save more body heat than a small fire burning in the open. Ancient humans understood one simple truth. The wind was often more dangerous than the cold itself. Freezing air constantly stole heat from the human body. Even on days when the temperature wasn't extremely low, strong winds could cause dangerous heat loss within hours. That is why experienced survivors never camped in open areas. Instead, they searched for places where nature already offered protection. Large rock formations blocked icy winds. Dense forests acted like natural walls. The entrances of caves reduced exposure to freezing air. Even fallen trees could become temporary shelters. Choosing the right location often meant the difference between surviving the night or freezing before sunrise. Once they found a safe location, they immediately began insulating themselves from the ground. This was another survival secret many people have forgotten. Cold doesn't only come from the air. It also rises from frozen ground. Lying directly on snow, ice, or damp soil caused body heat to disappear surprisingly fast. Ancient humans never slept directly on the earth unless they had no other choice. Instead, they built thick layers beneath their bodies. Dry leaves, pine needles, tall grass, moss, animal fur. Anything capable of trapping pockets of warm air became valuable insulation. Sometimes these natural beds were over a foot thick. The goal wasn't comfort. It was creating a barrier between the body and the freezing ground. Next came clothing. Unlike modern jackets filled with synthetic materials, ancient people depended entirely on nature. Animal hides became the greatest defense. The fur trapped warm air close to the body while blocking cold winds. Many tribes wore several layers rather than one thick garment. Air trapped between the layers created additional insulation. Loose clothing often performed better than tight clothing because it allowed warm air to circulate naturally. Even when animal hides weren't available, people used woven grasses, bark fibers, and dried plants to increase warmth. Every extra layer mattered. Protecting the body's most vulnerable areas was equally important. Ancient humans noticed that heat escaped quickly from the head, neck, hands, and feet. Instead of exposing these areas, they wrapped them using fur strips, leather, or soft plant fibers. Warm feet meant longer travel. Warm hands meant better control while making tools. A protected head helped conserve valuable body heat throughout the night. Food also played an unexpected role in surviving the cold. Our ancestors understood that the human body generated heat from energy. A hungry person became cold much faster than someone who had recently eaten. Whenever food was available, they often ate before sleeping. The calories helped fuel the body's internal furnace throughout the freezing night. Fat-rich foods were especially valuable. Nuts, animal fat, fish, large game. These foods supplied long-lasting energy that helped maintain body temperature. Water remained just as important. Many people assume drinking cold water makes the body colder. Ancient humans discovered something different. Dehydration reduced physical performance and made survival even harder. Whenever possible, they drank enough water before resting. Even in freezing environments, staying hydrated helped the body continue producing heat efficiently. Perhaps the most remarkable survival technique involved teamwork. Ancient humans rarely slept alone during harsh winters. Families gathered closely together inside small shelters. By sharing body heat, they reduced the amount of energy each individual needed to stay warm. The shelter became warmer. The group became stronger. Survival was rarely an individual achievement. It was a shared effort. Every lesson our ancestors learned came from countless winters filled with hardship. They didn't survive because nature became easier. They survived because they adapted. And long before the first spark of fire appeared, they had already. Surviving one freezing night was difficult. Surviving an entire winter without fire demanded something even greater: discipline. Ancient humans knew that once the body became dangerously cold, recovery was incredibly difficult. That is why they never waited until they started shivering before taking action. Preparation always came first. As the sun began to set, experienced survivors immediately gathered more insulation. Dry grass, moss, leaves, animal hides. Anything capable of trapping warm air was added to the shelter before darkness arrived. Every extra layer slowed the escape of precious body heat. The entrance of the shelter was just as important. A wide opening allowed freezing winds to rush inside throughout the night. Instead, ancient people built small entrances that blocked the wind while keeping warmth trapped inside. Some even used large branches, woven grass, or animal hides as simple doors. The shelter became more than a place to sleep. It became a natural heat trap. Movement also played an important role. Modern people often think running is the best way to stay warm. Ancient humans understood that wasting energy could become dangerous. Instead of exhausting themselves, they stayed active with steady, controlled movements. Gathering materials, repairing tools, preparing food. Strength without exhaustion. Warmth without wasting precious calories. When clothing became wet from snow or freezing rain, they acted immediately. Wet fur and soaked plant fibers lost much of their insulating ability. Whenever possible, they replaced wet materials with dry ones or dried them using sunlight and wind before night returned. Ignoring wet clothing often led to dangerous heat loss. Ancient people also learned to recognize the earliest signs of hypothermia, even though they had no scientific name for it. A person becoming unusually quiet, moving more slowly than normal, struggling to perform simple tasks, confused thinking. These warning signs meant immediate action was necessary. The group gathered closer together. Extra animal hides were shared. Travel stopped. Protecting life always became the highest priority. They also understood the importance of sleeping wisely. Sleeping alone exposed the body to greater heat loss. Sleeping too close to the shelter entrance exposed people to freezing drafts. Experienced tribes placed children and older family members toward the warmest part of the shelter, surrounded by stronger adults. The strongest protected the weakest. This simple act increased the chances that everyone would survive until morning. Perhaps the most surprising survival skill was mental control. Fear made people act recklessly. Panic encouraged unnecessary movement. Exhaustion followed. Ancient humans trained themselves to remain calm, even during the harshest winters. Every decision was made carefully. Every movement had a purpose. Energy was treated like food. Never wasted. Only spent when absolutely necessary. Nature rewarded patience. When the first rays of sunlight finally appeared, the work wasn't over. The shelter was repaired. Wet bedding was dried. Fresh insulation was collected. Food was searched for before the next cold night arrived. Survival was never about reacting to danger. It was about preparing for it long before it appeared. Thousands of years have passed since our ancestors faced these frozen landscapes. Today we have heated homes, insulated clothing, and weather forecasts. Yet the principles that kept ancient humans alive have never changed. Protect your body heat. Stay dry. Block the wind. Conserve your energy. Prepare before darkness falls. These lessons are still taught in modern survival training because they continue to save lives. Our ancestors may not have possessed modern technology, but they understood something timeless. Fire creates warmth. Knowledge preserves it. And in the coldest moments of life, that knowledge can become the difference between seeing another sunrise or becoming another forgotten story buried beneath the snow.